The Legend of Lavinia Fisher is an interesting one. If you've heard any version of her story, you've probably heard that she would chat up travelers staying at her and her husband's inn to see if they were a good target, wealthy, traveling alone, wouldn't be missed.
Yeah, you might also have heard that she poisoned her victims with
Oleander.
I know, I just got stuck. You might also have heard that she poisoned her victims with oleander. That just sounds weird. Oleander? Oleander?
Yeah.
You might also have heard that she has poisoned her victims with oleander tea while her husband robbed the men and did away with the bodies. You may have even heard that their guest room was rigged with a trapdoor that dropped sleeping travelers into a basement that may or may not have contained spikes.
Today we are discussing the woman, the myth, the legend, who has been coined America's first woman serial killer. But did she really ever kill anyone? I'm Nina.
And I'm Andrea, and this is Cults, Crimes, and Spirits.
This story begins in the year 1819 because there really isn't much known about Lavinia Fisher's early life.
Yeah, because 1819, that's a long time ago.
It was a very long time ago. And there wasn't very good record keeping or anything back then.
I believe that.
But what is known is that she was married to a guy named John Fisher, and the pair ran a hotel or inn just outside of Charleston, South Carolina, called the 6 Mile Wayfarer House, or just the 6 Mile House.
So not 8 Mile, but 6 Mile.
Yes. Not 8 Mile, but 6 Mile.
I think some sketchy shit happened here then.
Yeah, some sketchy shit definitely went down here. This is where weary travelers could stop in for a meal, a place to sleep, and to grab some water for their horses before continuing on their way. It was called the 6 Mile Wayfarer House because it was located 6 miles from Charleston. And apparently that was the standard for naming places back then, because there was other homes known as like the 5 Mile House and the 4 Mile House. Like the closer you get to Charleston, it's like a mile, served as like a mile marker.
Okay, makes sense. A way to tell where you are, how far you are from something.
Yeah, and I don't know if every one of those houses operated as inns, but they definitely served as the mile markers. At some point during Lavinia and John's operation of the 6 Mile House, several men were reported missing.
Sus.
After an investigation, it was determined that the missing men had last been seen at the 6 Mile Wayfarer House. The weird part is, even though they determined that the men had last been seen there, after another investigation to try to, find the men or find out more information, it yielded no evidence that Lavinia or her husband, John, were involved in any way in the disappearances.
They got away with it.
Yeah, eventually the investigation was just dropped, and it helped that Lavinia and John were apparently very well liked in the community, and Lavinia was apparently very beautiful and charmed most people that she met, including travelers.
Yeah, that'll definitely help you out. Being beautiful and charming. A lot of people will just enjoy you. Being purty.
During this time, Charleston was a bustling area, and I mean, it still is today,
I've never been.
But back then, I've never been there, but my husband's uncle lives there.
Some spooky stuff definitely goes down in Charleston.
Yes. But I mean, it was a bustling area back in the day. Obviously, it is today, too, because it's Charleston. It's a beach
town.
High-quality destination for people to go on vacation. But back then, it was popular because it was a popular port for trading, buying, selling things. And that occurred right there in the city. And so naturally, there were a lot of people traveling to Charleston to buy, sell, and trade stuff. And with that, there were a lot of thefts going on, people getting robbed.
Yep. Pickpocketed.
People wanted
Murder.
their shit. So, yes, disappearances. There was this group of individuals referred to as highwaymen, and they would lie in wait and hide like in the bushes along the road that people had to travel to get in and out of Charleston and like rob people.
Also, shout out to Mason number 9, Post Malone.
Is that the cup you got from the concert?
Yeah.
Nice.
It's a shaker. It has a top with like a shot glass that you can put on and shake, and like, it's cool. It was worth it.
Let's see.
Oh yeah. Anyways, back to the highwaymen and Lavinia Fisher.
Yep. So Lavinia and John were highwaymen.
Go figure.
Yeah.
Sneaky snakes.
They were part of a larger group who robbed vulnerable travelers. These snakes.
I hate snakes. They slither.
They would prey mostly on men traveling alone with a lot of valuables.
Yeah, let me rob that ass.
One day, a local man. Many men.
Wish death upon me.
Ooh, ooh. One day, a local man named Stephen Lacoste reported...
is that where the clothing company comes from?
Lacoste. I don't know. I don't know what clothing company that is.
It's like
is it spelled that way?
Yeah, and it's like the alligator or something.
Oh, yeah, I do know that.
Maybe this is where it came from if he was rich and shit. Oh,
maybe.
His cow. Never mind.
Yeah.
I mean...
Stephen Lacoste reported that his cow had been stolen right off his land, and it appeared that the highwaymen had now moved on from robbing travelers to robbing the locals. And the locals were like, hell no,
you don't steal a man's cow. That's a couple grand. I don't know, in their time, that's probably more. But damn, they stole his cow.
Yeah, so, people talk, and people were already getting suspicious of Lavinia and John and the company that they kept. They're friends because they were all kind of part of this gang. So in February of 1819, a group of locals gathered together to create their own sort of justice, and they made their way to the 5 Mile house. So not Lavinia and John's house, the
mile away
before you get to their house. Yes. So the mob of locals ordered those inside the 5 Mile house to vacate the building, and when they refused, the mob just burned a motherfucker down.
Motherfucker, burn.
The mob then made their way to the 6 Mile house.
Oh,
and they ordered
about to burn that shit down again.
At the 6 Mile house to leave, or they would burn their house down as well. But since everyone inside had heard all the commotion and seen the smoke from the 5 Mile house, they were like, "Oh, these people are
they mean business
for real." So
they're not faking
they took
it.
Their leave.
Yeah, get the fuck out, or you're gonna burn.
But yeah, so they ended up vacating the premises, and the mob decided that they were gonna leave one man named David Ross behind. David. If you know, you know. So anyways, the mob decided to leave one man named David Ross behind at the 6 Mile house just to keep watch and make sure the occupants stayed away. But the next day, the occupants, including Lavinia and John, because it was their freaking house, and other members of their gang, they returned to the 6 Mile house and attacked poor David.
No, not David.
David somehow managed to get away and alert authorities. And according to David, according to David, Lavinia choked him and slammed his head through the window.
Bad bitch! Oh my god!
She wasn't taking it.
She said,
"Hell no, this is my house.
Welcome to WWF, motherfucker."
Woo. WWE now.
I don't care. That's not what I watched.
It was the WWF when it was good when we were kids.
Yes.
Right after David had returned or had run off to get the authorities, another traveler named John Peoples approached the 6 Mile house to inquire about getting some water for his horses. When he did, he was also attacked by the gang and robbed at gunpoint.
Oh, hello, not friendly.
John Peoples also managed to get away from the group and alert authorities. So, like, these people, they're really good at letting people get away, apparently. Because somehow, one man, in both instances, got away from a whole group of people attacking him.
That's wild.
John was not able to identify his assailants at first because he was like a traveler. He wasn't a local. He didn't know who these people were. But later, he was able to identify them in a good old-fashioned lineup.
Nice.
The police, though, having reports now from David and John, finally had enough evidence to go and arrest the gang. And according to an article from the Charleston Courier, the next day, the sheriff showed up at the 6 Mile house and arrested John and Lavinia Fisher, William Hayward, James M. Elway, Jane Howard, and Seth Young.
Got the whole gang.
Mm-hmm. Apparently, the gang, when they were holed up inside the home, they were armed with 10 to 12 muskets and a keg of powder. But they ended up surrendering without a gunfight. One, because the sheriff's posse are also heavily armed, and they knew they wouldn't, be able to
outgun
make
them.
it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's also said that John gave himself and the gang up to save Lavinia from being killed in a possible gunfight.
Yeah, because all hell breaks loose. Once someone shoots, game on.
And these people already burned down a house. They gave zero fucks. So the same article reported that found in an outhouse on the 6 Mile property was the hide of a cow, which had been recently killed.
Wasn't there a missing cow?
And which was identified to be the property of one of the local citizens. Yes, so Stephen Lacoste, they stole his cow. Yeah, which we kind of figured. After they arrested the gang, the sheriff and his posse burnt the 6 Mile house to the ground. They were then taken to the local jail, which in the old articles, this is funny. So I had to look it up because I was like, what is this? I had suspicions that they were referring to the jail because of the way it was worded, but they spelled it G-A-O-L.
What the fuck is that?
It almost looks like goal, but like
the A and the O flipped.
G-A-O-L.
Yeah.
I was like, so I looked it up. I typed in like, what is this? And it popped up like jail. I guess it's like an old spelling of it, but yeah. So I thought it was funny. Throw that in there.
A little history lesson.
If you are familiar with Lavinia Fisher's story, you may have heard a different telling of the John Peoples story. So I'm going to tell a different version of John Peoples' story. The legend goes that John actually didn't stop to ask for water for his horses. He stopped to inquire about a room for the night. And Lavinia told him there wasn't any rooms available, but he could come in for like a hot meal and then be on his way.
Okay.
And so he did. And she started chatting him up and realized, he was like their perfect target. And then she told him that there was a room that just suddenly opened up. So she was asking him all kinds of questions, and he was just giving her
all
everything.
the info.
He was complete.
Yeah,
he was super charmed by her. So afterwards, he realized maybe I shouldn't have told her like
everything,
my whole life story. Yeah,
she's a stranger. I don't know her.
Right, and her husband was like apparently giving him evil looks all night. So he was like starting to feel like something wasn't right, and that maybe he was going to be a victim of robbery, like they were going to try to do something. And apparently while she was chatting him up, she gave him some of that oleander tea.
Oh, good old oleander.
Yeah, she's going to poison his ass. Good thing for John, he didn't like tea. So while she had her back turned, he just like dumps the shit out.
Good on you, John. Or you would have been dead.
So
DEAD.
He did. So, anyways, John John decides to retire for the evening, and he goes upstairs, and he decides, I'm not going to sleep in the bed. I'm going to sleep in this chair that's kind of facing the door, with my gun, just in case they try to like come in here.
So
and
he
do
had
anything.
a little vibe probably in his tummy telling him, hey,
Yeah,
something's off.
something ain't right. And so he falls asleep in the chair, and he awakes to this loud racket, like super loud noise, and he looks, and the fucking bed's gone. And so apparently there was
it
this trap door.
opened. Yeah, to go into the
Yeah.
basement.
Yep.
But he
And
didn't
if he had
fall
been
for
on
it. Ah!
So John jumps out the window. He's like, oh, no, And he jumps out the window.
Yeah, because he's probably thinking his chair's next if they have a fucking trap door for the bed.
Yeah. So he got the heck out of there quite quickly and made his way to town to alert the authorities. And then that's when and why they got arrested. But that has been proven to be, by historical documents and things, it's just
False.
part of the legend. Yeah, that John Peoples was almost a victim of the trapdoor.
False.
And the oleander tea.
That myth has been busted.
Yeah. The gang is now in the old Charleston
Gale.
jail. The Gale. Lavinia and her husband John were actually placed in a small jail cell together because they were married, which is cool that they let them like be together. I guess
they would never nowadays. Hell no.
Yeah, they'd be like, nah, sorry, don't
Sucks
do crime.
to suck. Separated.
Yeah,
y'all see each other when y'all see each other.
The one thing I kept thinking, which is like totally messed up, but I was
that
like,
they
well, at
fucking
least they could like. Yeah,
dude, that's the first thing that came to mind when you said that. I was like, oh, they in that jail cell together, they're gonna be fucking and reproducing or something.
I mean, there's nothing else to do, so it's not like they had.
And I bet you if Lavinia's like, oh, I'm pregnant, then they have to give her like special jail treatment.
Yeah, like Alice Riley.
Yeah, so why not just knock her up?
Yeah. So
that's funny. We both went to that. We were like, haha,
they're together. They're husband and wife. So like, there's nothing else to do in 1819.
Ride horses and your husband.
So they were charged with highway robbery. Okay, not murder, highway robbery, which was a capital offense back then. Ooh. So it meant it was punishable by death. Yeah.
That sucks.
So Lavinia and John were tried and convicted of their charges in May of 1819. In September of 1819,
weird.
The two lovers.
Hold on. My birthday's May.
Oh, I didn't even catch
yours is September.
That. Ah,
that's just a weird coincidence.
That is so weird.
Yeah, I don't know.
Another weird coincidence is today is February 18th, and this just happens to be the day that we're actually recording this episode. But it's also the day that John and Lavinia's execution was carried out, which we'll get to in a moment.
A lot of coincidences.
Really, really weird.
Yeah.
Very weird, yeah.
I can't believe you didn't catch that, though, when you were like...
I didn't catch it at all, like September and May. Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Our birth
But anyways,
month.
there's always like weird coincidences in our episodes.
And the fact that I brought that up about getting pregnant, and you're like, oh, like Alice Riley, our first episode back of 2024.
Yeah,
like,
everything refers back to previous episodes. It's so crazy.
It's meant to be, I guess.
It's spooky. So anyways, in September of 1819, the two lovers plotted together with another inmate to escape the prison.
Get the fuck out. They didn't want to die.
Yeah. John and the other inmate made some kind of a hole under a window, and they put together this makeshift rope out of blankets that were tied together.
Like Rapunzel.
Let down your hair.
Let down the blankets.
So the other inmate dude went first, and he made it down okay. Then John went next, and he He made it down, but the rope kind of like broke.
Oh, fuck. How are you going to fix that?
The rope broke. They didn't. So Lavinia, poor thing, is just stuck in the, jail cell. Like, she can't get down now. Well, he loved her enough. He would not leave Lavinia in the prison. So him and the other inmates stay nearby, and they're trying to, like, figure out a way to get her out. It doesn't work out because shortly after they're found by authorities hiding under an overturned boat, and they are quickly returned to the jail.
So they're back to where they didn't want to be.
Man, I almost would have just left her at.
Yeah. I mean, maybe, like,
or at least, like,
for a minute.
The other inmate.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't have any, like, play
in
this game.
Yeah, that's like, not his wife.
Yeah, like, go the heck on. So they all got recaptured, and they're back sitting in jail waiting for execution. Lavinia and John received another hearing in January of 1820, but they were denied a new trial and were still ultimately sentenced to hang on originally February 4th, but it was changed to February 18th.
Weird. So today in history, on the day we record...
Today in history... it was changed to February 18th so that they would have a couple of extra weeks to make their peace with God.
And get some.
Don't think that was the reason, but why not?
Yeah.
All right. So, when the day of the hanging arrived, they made their way from the jail to the gallows in a carriage.
How romantic.
Lavinia, yeah, I know. I'm like, oh, it's a sweet carriage ride to your death.
Yeah.
Lavinia, like, believed up until the last possible moment that she would not be hanged because she was a woman.
They don't give a fuck about you.
No.
Especially not back then. Especially not now.
Well, back then, it was, like, supposedly, like, I don't know if it was technically illegal, but it was, like, they just didn't hang, like, married women.
Why?
So I guess if you were a single
like,
woman,
property?
you were just, like, screwed. I think, yeah, kind of. But I guess since her husband was also going to the gallows, they didn't
give a fuck. They were like, you're both dying.
No.
But damn, she really thought she wasn't gonna get hung.
Yeah, and, like, so apparently, I don't know if this is true or not, like, if they actually told her this, but allegedly they said that it's okay, they would hang John first, so that way she would be a widow going to the gallows.
Hey,
so they're like, they were like, him first.
Yo, we found a loophole. You know what?
Yeah.
We're just gonna hang your man.
Won't be married.
Yeah. And you ain't pregnant, so.
Yeah.
But even if you were, they'd let you have the baby, then they'd just hang you.
Yeah.
If you've listened to Alice Riley's episode.
Yeah. If you haven't listened to the Alice Riley episode, check it out. So then there's so many, like, little, like, legends to this, to Lavinia's story. So apparently she requested to go to the gallows in her wedding dress.
She needs a pair of grippy socks. That's some crazy bitch shit. Hey, if you're gonna hang me, can I be in my wedding dress so maybe people will see that and be like, oh, I'm married. This is such a shame. Why are we hanging her?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was hoping for a last minute pardon. Like I said, she was hoping up until the last possible second. But this part of the story is also just legend. It's not even true. She was not hanged in her wedding dress, but it was likely that she could have been hanged in a white gown that they just put on her as a prisoner, and people thought it was, like, her wedding dress.
Hearsay.
Plus, there was, like, no, like, real accounts that I could find that actually, like, eyewitnesses said, oh, she was wearing her wedding dress.
Yeah.
But it is said by witnesses that John accepted his fate and went to the gallows without a fight, but professed his innocence until the very end. But he did say that he had lived a wicked and abandoned life. So he was kind of admitting to some sort of wrongdoings.
Trying to clean that slate before he died.
Yeah, but he would not confess to the crime that he was being hanged for. Lavinia was a different story altogether.
Ain't gonna lie, though. I would be the same way.
Yeah, she was throwing a bitch fit.
I would too. I'd be like,
apparently,
hell no, you ain't gonna kill me. No.
or I'd be like, or you gonna work for it?
Yeah.
So
you're gonna fucking
they
earn
did.
your fucking pay as a fucking gallows man.
Yeah, they had to drag her, apparently, kicking and screaming, cursing and everything, to the gallows.
Spitting, scratching.
And probably. And she also professed her innocence until the end.
I would have kicked a couple of them in the balls. Man down, man down, man down.
A part of Lavinia's story that was actually true, her famous last words, which
she was probably like, fuck you.
No, she actually said, if you have a message you want to send to hell, give it to me. I'll carry it.
Bad bitch.
Yeah.
Bad bitch.
She was like, yeah, so I'm about to go there. If you have any messages,
give it to me now. I'll let Satan know himself.
Crazy.
That also kind of admits that you're like a piece of shit and you've done a lot of bad things in your life. If you're like, hey, I'm going to hell,
to the bad place. Yeah.
Like, what have you done? Damn.
Right?
Murder.
Right? So that kind of like lended more to the legend of her being a serial killer. Yeah. But then also her saying those famous last words, that's kind of why some people think that maybe she was into the occult or like witchcraft, but I don't think there's any like real evidence other than her saying that. Yeah.
Besides her name, that shit sounds like a voodoo ass name.
Sounds like a witch, like
Lavinia.
Lavinia.
Hi, my name's Lavinia.
I like it though. I like it. All right, so let's see. Legend also states that Lavinia jumped off the scaffold herself to her death before the hangman could pull the lever.
That was another big fuck you if that really happened.
Yeah. No, it didn't really happen. According to eyewitnesses there that day, it was just part of the legend. Because I don't think she was going to jump because she seriously thought she was going to be pardoned, right? So she ain't going to go before she has to go.
Yeah. She ain't about that death life.
It was also stated that authorities... Okay, here's another part of the legend. It was stated that authorities found hundreds of bodies at the 6 Mile house in different states of decomposition.
Ew.
But in fact, as reported by the Post and Courier, according to author and former Charleston area homicide detective Bruce Orr in his book 6 Miles to Charleston, the true story of John and Lavinia Fisher.
One body of a white male was found in a freshly dug grave in the woods near the 6 Mile house. The victim had been shot around the same time the sheriff and the lynch mob raided the 6 Mile house. He was buried next to the remains of a young African-American woman whose body was placed in an unmarked grave there 2 years earlier. Hers is the only skeleton ever found near the house. It is not known if the man buried there was a gang member shot during the raid or a victim of robbery.
There are no accounts of trapdoors, poison tea, or a cellar full of skeletons, Orr said. He went on to say, if all those bodies were there, the media would have reported it, or someone would have smelled the decaying flesh.
That's true. It stinks. As we know from our one episode.
The Tri-State Crematorium? Yep. Yeah. Apparently, there's been so many other funeral homes that like have had
they're sketchy.
Maybe not as bad as that, but we need to do a deep dive.
A whole episode on just like sketchy funeral homes.
Yeah. But anyways, he said that never happened, and the reason it never happened is because the story of a cellar full of corpses, just like the oleander poison tea, is fabrication and fiction.
It's all lies.
Yeah,
just made up. But
it's the legend.
It makes it sound
it's
cool.
Fun.
Because in reality, how the fuck they're gonna make a trap door?
I mean, you could do it. I mean, people were like doing shit in like medieval times like that.
I guess so.
Like real torture. And most of Lavinia Fisher's story, from historical records seems to be more legend and tall tale than actual truth. So I wanted to do a deep dive and get to the truth, because I always just believed all the stuff that I heard.
Yeah.
Because it was like, oh, wow. But then I started doing research and I was like, damn, it's not even real.
Yeah. That sucks.
Although, I mean, I guess it's good.
I thought she was like super people, like witchy and occulty.
Right?
And
because that's another legend associated with her, but it's mainly just because of her famous last words. I mean,
it's all perception. It's all how you take what you hear and perceive it.
Right. It didn't seem like Lavinia was at peace at the time of her death, you know, kicking and screaming to the gallows, and that may be why,
throwing her bitch fit,
almost immediately after Lavinia's death, sightings of her ghost began to appear.
Oh, of course they did. Is that hearsay too, though?
I don't know how many people have actually... I mean, if you've seen a ghost, you still wouldn't know for sure if it's Lavinia.
Yeah.
You know, so it's speculation. It's a ghost story. But most accounts were of people seeing her, or who they thought was her spirit, wandering around the old city jail where she spent her last year of life waiting to be executed. And they've supposedly seen her spirit wandering around the city where the gallows once stood. I'm not super familiar with Charleston, but it's a spot on Meeting Street, just outside of the city limits of Charleston. So if anybody is familiar and they might know where that's at, you can go there and look for her ghost. Others have claimed to have seen her wandering around the Unitarian Cemetery, which is interesting considering she's not buried there, but people thought she was buried there at one time.
So maybe their mind played tricks on them. Yeah, they were like,
yeah, or maybe it was another ghost, and they were like, oh, it's a girl ghost, so it's got to be Lavinia Fisher. So I already mentioned the Old City Jail.
It was on Ghost Hunters?
Yeah, so the Old City Jail was on Ghost Hunters and Ghost Adventures. Like, a lot of people have went there and investigated it.
That's cool. Hell yeah.
Yeah. And that's why, like, because, you know, they would tell a lot of the legends and stuff, and I'm like, ooh, that sounds like a good story. And then I, like, get into the research, and I'm like, oh.
Kind of boring.
I mean, it's still an interesting story, but it's just, like,
I mean, it's kind of cool factual. That a woman was a part of the Highwaymen. In that time, too, you would think it'd be, like, men exclusive. But I wonder if John's like, nah, my bitch cool. She crazy.
She'd rather die.
Yeah, exactly. Bonnie and Clyde.
Before Bonnie and Clyde.
Yes. We're on the same wavelength.
So Lavinia may have been guilty of highway robbery, but there really just isn't enough evidence to suggest murder, let alone the title of serial killer.
Yeah, that's reaching.
Next week, we're discussing another woman who confessed to 31 murders and may have actually been America's first woman serial killer.
Ooh, I can't wait. That sounds fun.
Yes.
Pussy power.
But
I am so ready.
But yeah, so that has been the myths and the legend of Lavinia Fisher.
Hope y'all enjoyed.
Yeah, sorry this story wasn't as spicy, but next week will be quite spicy.
But now you know the truth. We're here to give you the cold, hard facts.
Even if they're not that glamorous.
Yeah. But we learned a lot of shit is legend and hearsay.
Yes.
And don't trust every word you hear. But anyways, y'all, we did the damn thing. Y'all stay spooky.
Stay spooky.
See y'all next week.